yeah.
Let me know when to come in. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So let me know when. The second. So if I click any of these buttons, it won't turn this button here. These buttons, they won't turn this screen off, will they? If my hand was.
But which button?
The buttons at the bottom of your name says, "Oh no, mute and unmute." Okay, right.
All right.
Leave.
Yeah.
Oh right, yeah. Start, stop. Okay. So if I start and stop, that goes on and off immediately. Yeah, is that right? Start,
Um.
stop camera. If I turn that on and off, does it go off and come straight back on?
Well, it won't. Mm. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So we're live anyway. So
Right, go. Yeah.
all right. So all right. So basically, with the situation that we're in at the moment, and of course, the government have said about how 3 weeks
Yes.
they're going to lift like some of the restrictions.
Yes.
Um, what do you or what have you heard, or have they given details of, apart from, I know you, the only one I've heard is about the schools going back,
Yes.
but what have they given any details of any other restrictions that are going to be lifted?
No, no, they haven't. They really haven't.
Right.
What we know for absolutely sure is that schools are going back, and they have said, to be sure, they have said that's an if. That's not 100%, but from this point, they're saying that schools are planned in motion to go back, and they will let us know if there are any changes. That's literally what they're saying right now. So to be sure, schools are set back on the agenda, but
Mm,
that could possibly change in 3 weeks' time. All
right.
depends on what happens. That's what they've made clear.
But
Yeah.
you said there was some other. Uh, so what have they said about like the like offices?
No,
Like,
they haven't. No, they haven't, because it's gathering. So what they have said is that gather no public gathering, whether whether it be public in the street or public in business. So in
right.
other words, cinemas are not back on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Restaurants and takeaways are not back on.
Mm,
Pubs and clubs are not back on. And but what I was thinking was, so to be clear, they're just clear about the schools. Nothing else. Everything else is vague. You're getting other bits of information, but I'm talking strictly from the government, from the
mm,
live coronavirus broadcasts on mainstream TV.
yeah.
All they're clear about is that schools are due to be back on. Nothing else.
Right. So
But
the
yeah, that's what they're clear on. Yeah. Now there are
mm,
other bits of info that's coming out from other sources that are saying, but I'm talking strictly about what the government minister is saying live on TV. No, they're not clear, and they're making it clear also that they're not clear. In their words and in their tone and in their language, they're making it clear that this is all up in the air. You know,
right.
you know, yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard anything about 12 weeks mentioned?
12 weeks regarding.
Anything regarding this? The sort of the current
No,
pandemic.
I haven't heard the word 12 weeks. The furthest I've heard is 3 weeks for
Mm,
that particular thing, and the 3 weeks is for schools
right.
as well. The free, yeah,
Because interestingly, the 12 weeks I've heard is that's what doctors are saying, that people who are vulnerable,
yeah.
they have to stay inside for. So I'm wondering.
People who are vulnerable,
Yeah, yeah. How the virus that sort of attacks the
the
lungs.
el- the elderly, and certain sick people,
Yeah,
certain
yeah, and also if
sicknesses.
you got an illness, which is
Yes, sure.
because I don't know if have you seen, because the thing is that I don't know if you've ever seen that there's like a letter that they send around to people who are sick, and it actually gives a list of the illnesses.
Yes, kind of.
Yeah,
I've seen it briefly. Briefly, yeah.
right,
I've not had one in front of me properly, but yeah,
right. Yeah, and but apparently it seems that for the people who are in that state, they
yeah.
have to stay in for 12 weeks. So I'm wondering, this 12 weeks number. I wonder if it's related to anything else apart from just the people who are like they say are on the sort of concerned list, or on this.
Yes, not that I'm aware of.
Right. So essentially, what's happening now is that for even small businesses,
Yes.
essentially, it that things are still up in the air, basically.
it's up in the air and everything is very indefinite. Let's be clear about that. It's very
Mm,
indefinite. Nothing is on the cards. Apart the
mm,
only thing that they've been very clear about, and they've been clear about it in the sense that it's not 100%. But the only
mm,
thing that they've been clear about is that schools are going back due, to be sure. Schools are due back in 3 weeks. They
wow.
haven't said that's 100% and no matter what.
Mm,
That's been quite clear that it's just on the agenda that schools should be back, but that things could change. And they're making it quite clear that that you'll be updated constantly. But that's the only sole thing. That's what I'm saying. The only
mm,
sole thing that they haven't said one other thing. They haven't said that job centers will be open again or restaurants will be open again in 3 weeks or any whatsoever amount of time. The only thing that they've been clear about is that schools, only schools solely, will be opened in 3 weeks, and that's a given, and that's still up in the air.
yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
else. In regards to everything else, in regards to the public going back to any kind of normality at all, that's just up in the air as well.
Mm,
Because they're saying they're getting advice from their doctors, scientists, and experts. And they said, as I said, I'm talking about information that's on the government COVID website.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that I'm talking about that strictly. They said, and they're constantly putting up these ads on Facebook and YouTube saying that if there are any changes, if any movements make the situation worse, then those 3 weeks are cancelled.
Mm.
The ad is on Facebook, and the words in plain English. We will not lift this ban whatsoever if movement causes things to worsen.
Yeah, so it sounds like it almost seems as if with this you're in it for a bit of a long haul.
Yeah, it's a long haul, and all they're simply going to do. So let's get real now, seriously, because
Mm,
all they're doing, to be clear, and all they they're doing it, and they're going to continue to do it, is just roll out different mission information every single day.
mm,
And this is the problem with about when you give, they're basically giving themselves so much rope that they can't lose. They could literally say it's all right to go out tomorrow, or they could not. It's as simple as that. There is no time frame whatsoever as to things going back to, and not normal, because things are never going to go back to normal, but there's no time whatsoever as to things going back to any kind of normality. There were no plans on the cards at all to say that business can go, people can move about as usual. None at all.
mm. And the thing about it is that's I suppose that's one thing that's interesting about this is that because here's one thing that I don't know if you ever heard anything like this spoken, but I was listening to some Hebrew Israelites speaking earlier, and there was a very classic statement they made, which is that I can't remember the exact words he used, but the
Mm.
gist of it is that basically atheism is cancelled and that they might as well just run and go back under a rock or something.
Kind of is. I've heard a lot of mad stuff, to tell the truth, from the Hebrew Israelites. Yeah, I've heard a lot of mad stuff. I've heard it usually in the. What do they mean by that? So, are they saying that this whole thing this whole situation has defeated atheism? Is that what's meant?
Well, because no, but you see, this is the thing. It's the reason why they're saying this is because of what's happened. Because I don't know if you've heard the list of things that have changed because of the virus. Like in America, they say that I think it's about is it 300,000. They have 300,000 abortions.
Yes.
Yeah. So now with the virus, it's gone down to zero. So because I mean I don't know because that's
By what I've heard, I don't know if that's strictly true, because I've heard one story. I don't know the truth of this though. I've heard one story that while they've closed churches and other places,
mm,
abortion clinics are still allowed to open.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's what I
Oh,
heard on Facebook. There was one particular pastor, and I can get the information on that. Not pastor, sorry, not pastor. And one particular government minister
mm,
that he was a mayor, he's some kind of mayor or
yeah.
district attorney for a particular state.
Mm,
While over the Easter period, just before and through to the Easter period, this is a post on Facebook, and I can find it. He closed down churches in that locality, but allowed the abortion clinics to open in their usual opening hours.
wow.
Yeah, so that's not true. That's right, and I've seen that on more than one case.
Right.
Abortion clinics were still opening, people were still going to them while they closed down other mainstream areas. They closed down churches and cinemas, and so I don't think that, and that would fit right in with the agenda of yeah. I can't see, what I mean, people
Mm,
putting up with, but that's what I've heard. There will obviously be conflicting stories, but what I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised if abortion clinics and other places were allowed to go on as normal, while um other mainstream events and venues are closed. But I don't strictly know the truth of that.
But
But
but I
yeah,
suppose the even if the clinics are opening,
yeah.
one thing that the virus has definitely done is reduce the it reduce it. I can certainly see it reducing the number of women who need abortion.
Why so?
Well, because how are they going to get into the position where they need one in the first place?
Oh
They,
right. Oh well, no. That won't be too problematic. You mean in terms of how they're going to get pregnant?
mm,
Oh no, that would be very easy. People at home. Surely, look, I can see the
well,
sense in this. It's been said that if
mm,
people are quarantined at home, so if a husband and wife, if people are quarantined at home,
mm.
includes husbands and wives, boyfriends and girlfriends that are living together, if they're quarantined at home, literally stuck inside and you can't come out, what is that likely to produce in the overall, in regards to the domestic situation, the family situation?
Oh yeah, but
It's
one thing,
highly likely to produce more children.
yeah,
People are
but
at home at times where they shouldn't be at home, not doing other activities that they would usually be doing, and instead at home.
oh yeah, but one thing though is the teen pregnancies, because
Sorry?
the teenage ones,
Yeah.
because that always requires the guy to be mobile to be able to get to the teenage girl.
That's true, but come on, let's look at it. And there's nothing to stop. I see what you mean. There's nothing to stop that from happening either.
Mm.
At the moment, the restrictions that are on does not stop, teenagers from going to each other's houses. Or the only thing that would stop that, the government lockdown does not stop that at all. Strictly, the only thing that could stop that, make it more difficult for teenagers to still go to each other's houses, is if the parents or the domestic guardian clamps down on that. If the parents and the domestic guardian take seriously the government message and make sure that a young guy isn't coming to her daughter's house or vice versa,
Oh,
that's the only way that will stop.
yeah, but that's the other thing though is the fact that a lot of them probably rely on the fact that the parents work.
Yes,
So now the parents will be at home. So basically, the unwanted, because it's usually an unwanted pregnancy comes about
yes,
from like usually in an illicit way. So it will be a
yes,
girl knowing someone who the parents likely doesn't like.
yes.
So now with everyone being at home, the parents you basically can't get around them.
It's certainly restricted. I agree with you. It's definitely restricted, but it's by no means stopped. Look, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not
yeah.
going to stop because
Yeah, but
obviously,
absolutely, I
yeah,
agree with you though.
mm,
Absolutely. Whereas whereas the parents are at home, where activity is taking place, quite simply, in between teenagers or young people, where activity is taking place, sexual activity we're talking about, is taking
mm,
place because there are no parents or guardians around.
yeah,
That
yeah,
will be more restricted.
yeah.
Absolutely. Because whereas teenagers can go to each other's houses knowing that their parents are not around.
That's
The
right.
parents are now around because
Yeah,
everybody's on lockdown, and that avenue's closed. Of
mm,
course, absolutely, or most of it's closed.
yeah.
But
I think
so you be looking, so that the first opportunity is closed that usually exists. So now you'd have to look to an alternative. But to be clear, you're absolutely right. The avenues that's usually taken because parents are at work and at school and blah 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 is now closed. But obviously there are other avenues. So already the fact that certain avenues are closed, that will certainly reduce any potential, of course, pregnancies to a
yeah.
large extent. Absolutely, yeah,
And then the next thing is this is one I thought of just recently
yeah,
is in the cinema
yeah,
it's about I don't know if you heard about a lot of the films lately where they're like promoting they got like, all these like superheroes and they
yes,
it's like the superheroes are supposed to be there to replace God.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, yeah, like
and and
Avengers. That's
and,
right.
and
Yeah,
when I thought so that's the other thing I thought of is that it's almost as if God's a bit fed up with that. So he says, "All right, I'll shut all your cinemas then," and
right.
that's exactly what's happened.
Okay, right. So seeing as you brought that up, then because this all comes down to how you're viewing this whole thing.
Mm,
And so what you said is just giving me a clear indication of how you're viewing it. So correct me if I'm wrong.
mm,
My question now is based on what you said is, are you viewing this whole thing? I mean, the whole thing. I mean, the
mm,
whole so-called corona, be it real or imaginary, because
yeah.
some people believe it, some people don't. But
Mm.
whether it's believed or not believed, are you saying that the whole corona, COVID-19, is an act of God or a divine act?
Yeah, the evidence I use is the results and the fact that in the Bible,
Yeah,
pestilence he's used pestilence quite a few times,
yeah,
and he's going to use it in the future as well.
yes.
So it's like one of his staple weapons.
Okay. So
And
let me. Okay, go ahead, Karen.
yeah, and I was just yeah, and like I was saying, the fact that you have multiple outcomes here. Of course, you got the shutting down the cinemas and the
Mm,
nightclubs, where you know what happens in nightclubs,
yes,
and then now people are at home more, which of course God likes as well, because now families are together.
yes.
And then I don't know if you heard, I was listening to Premier Radio, and they were saying that another thing that's happening is that apparently the sales of Bibles have gone up like 40.
Yeah, so I heard, yes, I heard that.
Yeah.
I saw certain articles saying that. Well, that would be good. That's a good outcome. Yeah.
So you see, so it's like there's so many things which are like in God's favor
Yes.
just from this
Yes.
one virus attack, and you just kind of wonder how can so many things happen which are in favor of His word
Okay.
just from one virus strike, and
Okay.
but then someone else did it, not God. It's just would be pretty impressive if it wasn't God. That's the thing.
Okay. So let me ask you then, because okay, I mean, for every positive thing or good thing, you can easily find a negative one. So let me ask you this. So I suppose it would come down to if you could weigh them up.
Mm.
Where would the scale be balancing? Would they be more for or against this whole thing?
Oh
Because,
yeah,
for example, you can look at a lot of negatives, and some of them, I want to touch on some of them now. Actually, some of the key ones for me, some of the
yeah,
key ones that I see as negatives.
right.
First of all, crowd control. This is what this thing is allowed. It's allowed the government to master crowd control in a way that they've never been able to do before. Because this corona situation of everybody staying inside now, it's these kind of situations, it's these kind of historical landmarks that usually allow protest groups to come out in force, and
Yeah.
it also allows groups that didn't exist to come into existence. These are the kind of things that people usually protest about. People usually protest on the street because of this. New groups that don't exist would rise up because of this, usually, if it was
Mm.
anything else. But because of the very nature of the thing, the existing groups are silent, and it can't. So there's no protest. So let's get to some of the key stuff,
Yeah.
because it's a lockdown. We're talking about a lockdown. So what's also locked down is the churches. There are no churches. The church doors are closed. And
Yeah.
I know, and people are already getting comfortable with the fact that the church is the church and we can do stuff online. But come on, that can't compensate. People are trying to comfort themselves with these alternatives, and of course you have to use the alternative, but it's only a comfort zone. It can't be right unless, of course, it's an act of God. That's a different
Mm.
story. If it's an act of God, then God knows what you're doing. But what I'm saying is, if it's not an act of God, and we have to allow that scenario, if it's not an act of God, then the devil's winning here. There's no other way of looking at it. If the church doors are closed, I mean, and people are not don't have the opportunity to go to church and hear the gospel in that way, then that's a score for the devil. Quite simply, that is not a score for God.
Mm.
Unless, of course, you're saying if God had done this, it's a whole different scenario. But I'm bringing in the scenario that it may not be God. What if it's a
Mm.
case that we're saying it's got to comfort ourselves? Because sometimes we do that.
Oh,
And
oh,
I, and I'm aware. I'll let you in here. Just let me say this very quickly. I'm
yeah.
aware of these scriptures, all of these scriptures about plagues and all of them. I'm aware of lots of them. But
Mm.
can we rightly apply them and say that because these things are in the Bible and God's done them before, that He's doing it right now, or is that just a comfort zone?
Oh,
Just saying.
oh, no, oh no, it's not to do with comfort. It's more to do with the fact that the results are happening. So if say like you know like how you had the because this is the other thing about it, you know like before when you have things like the bubonic plague and
Hmm.
what's it, Spanish flu,
The Spanish flu, yeah.
yeah,
The Indian flu, we had lots of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
and all those and the Black Death as well.
yeah.
When those things happen, they happen at a time when uh, obviously you didn't have the knowledge to control them, and they actually had quite a devastating effect.
Hmm.
So the benefits, so essentially you wouldn't really get many benefits from it, and the benefits themselves you wouldn't even get like multiple benefits. So it's just the way that this particular one has come, and it's the fact that you could tell it's controlled. Because I don't know if you noticed one thing about when you read in the Bible about the way Satan, especially when he was attacking Job,
Yes.
and you notice that the devil just seemed to like just hit with a hammer, isn't it? He didn't.
Indiscriminately, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
there wasn't that much. So, but then when you look at what's happening with this, it's the way that the virus has been controlled.
Yeah.
It only hits certain people, and the fact that it's also like the stealth part of the virus as well. The fact that it's been specially designed so that some people can have it and show no symptoms, and you'd think that, or from what I can see, the only reason that that particular characteristic is there is just so it spreads a lot. So it's like it's been specifically designed like in a very um super technical way, and the only way I could see someone who would know exactly the effects it would have is basically someone who knows exactly how the human body works. Well, I only know one person who has that knowledge.
Okay, let me pick up on some stuff you said there. Fair enough.
Mm.
But let me pick up some. You mentioned that it's only attacking certain people. What do you mean by that? Or it's only affected certain people? Or
No, no,
what
no,
do you
no,
mean by
no,
this?
no, 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 no. I don't mean like like I know they're saying about certain races or whatever. No,
Mm.
but it's the fact that in itself it only goes after I should say a certain number of people. Not so I'm not making it specific according to maybe what country they're from or etc.
Oh no, I didn't mean that. So do you mean in terms of people that are maybe susceptible because of other illnesses they have? Is that what you mean? Or do
Well, no, it's just that it's like it's this virus is was designed to hit in a way to not cause a panic. Because
so
obviously, if it hit like how the Black Death hit, then yeah, the place would be just be a mess, wouldn't it? So it's like it was engineered to hit in a way which is like tame enough so that the majority of people are still relaxed.
do you think people are relaxed?
Well, I'm just going by what I'm seeing on the road, like when I'm going for a walk.
Okay. Well, first of all, are you seeing anybody out on the street?
Oh yeah, because where I live, I go past the Streatham Common, so there's always
Right.
lots of people on. Well, not that many people,
Yeah,
but
but okay.
but
But
if I,
compared to what you would usually see before all this started,
yeah.
are you seeing anybody on the street in comparison to that?
Oh no, the actual pavement, yeah, there's a lot less people,
Yeah.
but it seems that what people do is they go to the park because that's essentially the most popular place now
Yeah.
for people to go.
But
So what you find happening is that essentially all the pavements are mostly is people either going to the park or going to the shop, and that's
yeah.
it.
But do you notice what's happening? Have you not noticed? Maybe you haven't. I've
Mm.
noticed that when this thing just started, when we had the official lockdown, as it were, like
Yeah,
the 23rd of last month, there was literally nobody on the street, and there still isn't. Apart from it, of course, in the daytimes, I mean, it's seriously reduced. Even in the best of times, the absolutely best of times, where you're going to see nobody at all, when you're going to see anybody at all, sorry, is in the working hours because certain people are still going to work.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I've noticed over the last, like maybe last, because this thing's been going for like 4 weeks now. I've
Mm.
noticed slowly but surely, even though the place is still overall empty. I'm just wondering if this is making sense to you. Even though the place is still overall empty, there are more people. Because there was a point where there was nobody doing even those minor things of going to the park and walking through and having a bit of fresh air. That was non-existent. You wouldn't, because I know even around my area, there's certain people you would only see because they're jogging or they're going for a walk with a dog. In the first 2-3 weeks, that didn't exist.
No.
I literally know people, they weren't working their dogs anymore. And what I'm saying is, over the last, even for that minute, I mean, the pop out, they literally weren't doing the pop out thing and coming back in because they were
Mm.
terrified. But over the like round in lots of places, around the West End as well, because I've been checking. But over the last maybe week, I've noticed that people are staying out longer, a bit longer,
Oh,
even though they're going back and retreating, but they're staying out longer, sitting on the grass a bit. What I'm saying is that literally wasn't existing in the first 2 or 3 weeks of this thing. I think now, as time is going by, I'm hoping, rather, I'm thinking and hoping that people are thinking, nobody's saying anything, but I think people are thinking more about the reality of how this actually works. Is the danger, and I just want to ask, really what we're led to believe in terms of the distancing? Is that literally a danger if you and I are too close to each other? Because that's what made people curious. That if they
Well,
walk past another person, that space is dangerous.
no. That's one thing I've noticed. I even had it. Well, literally see it happen every day. Is that you notice that basically you have different people in different categories, and
Yeah.
they seem to fall roughly into three categories.
Mm.
You've got the one category, which will, if it's less than 2 meters, they'll go onto the road to walk around you.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there's the other ones who will just stay as far across on the pavement as they can.
Yes.
And then there's a third category who just don't seem to care. And then
So they're standing next to you deliberately. It looks like, yeah. Too near.
yeah,
Yes. Of
so
course. Yeah.
I've observed those three like
Yes, I have as well.
major categories
Yes.
with people. So but what I'd say the majority fall in the um stay as far away on the pavement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
That's because, but that's what I want to ask, and this is what I want to get to. Hopefully,
Mm,
I want to, because I know we spoke about this before previously,
mm,
and I'd asked you if you believed it. So if I can ask now,
yeah.
I'm asking a very specific thing. I don't just mean do you believe the whole thing. If
Mm,
I can, I want to ask something more specific. I'm
yeah.
asking, do you believe that there's an imminent danger in regards to if people don't keep that strictly to? So let's say, for example, I don't stay away from you 2 meters. Let's say, for example, I'm nearer to you than 2 meters apart for a period of 5 minutes. Is that a danger? That danger that's what I'm asking. Is that real? That's what I'm asking.
Oh
Is that real? Is this what coronavirus real in that sense,
no,
or is that hoax?
no. What it is, I have to admit, I haven't listened to what they say about this 2 meter thing. But
Yeah.
what is when you hear it's like someone on the radio or TV, when they mention the 2 meter thing, what did they actually say?
Right. What they're saying is because the government has said this and the so-called experts have said this, we're being told. They're
What
saying that
mm,
because the 2 meters is to do with literally your oxygen. So for example, if I'm within less than 2 meters apart from you, if I'm
mm,
speaking, if we speak at each other and my
mm,
breath goes towards yours and yours come towards mine, and
mm.
either one of us have got COVID, and we're gonna pass it on to the other. Because of that space limit, the space limit is too short. So the two
Oh,
meters is to give that distance that any breath from me or any sneeze or any puff or whatever, will linger in between that space and not literally go from me to you or you to me. So the space is literally that space because it can be more space. The wider the space, the better. They're not saying it must be strict. See, this is what people are getting wrong as well. They're not saying it must be strictly 2 meters. If
yeah,
I could stay 5 meters away from you, that's better. But what they're
right,
saying is, if it's within 2 meters and I've got it, I'm going to pass it on to you, or vice versa.
right.
Whereas that's limited if we keep the 2 meter space. They're not saying it's impossible. They're just saying the travel distance of my sneeze or my air or my sniffle or cough or whatever is likely to sort of fall, hit the floor, fall flat rather than hit you.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's what I'm saying. That's a bit and because they're saying because they're not. I'll just finish here. Because they're saying that because the 2 meters doesn't mean that you're safe. 5 meters would be better, clearly, but they're saying don't make it within 2 meters
right.
for that reason, for what may be passed on.
Well, from going by what I know, I would say that they were right in terms of 2 meters when people are speaking, but when it comes to you see, think about it, when people sneeze, they usually sneeze down anyway.
Mm.
So it's really coughing is the worst one because
But some, yeah,
yes, I've seen people who cough without. Um, but what I'd say about the 2 meters is that um it will help, but what people have to understand is 2 meters only really works outside.
yes.
If you're inside and someone sneezes, you best just run out that door because the vapor that
Um,
produce.
okay, but let me get back to what I'm asking though is that actually real? Is there a medical condition or is there a disease that you know what I'm saying? What I'm getting at is people think that there's some level of safety in their mind.
Mm.
In terms of I'll keep that 2 distance.
Oh,
But what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is that imminent danger actually real, or is it a delusion? That's what I'm asking. That if I'm within less than 2 meters to you, I'm going to catch the so-called corona. Yeah, that's the first thing. And is it actually real? I'm saying, is it a delusion? The idea that if I stay, I've got a better chance if I'm 2 meters away from you than within 2 meters.
no. What is from what I can see about the 2 meters? Uh, Basically, that's just the what the government's doing is that how do you say it? That's I think they worked out that that's the best they could do to try and lessen.
Yes, they have done. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly what they've done. But that's
but
why I'm asking the question.
yeah, no. All it is that 2 meters is to compensate for the people who are like more stubborn and I don't know how you say, because you know how you got what I suppose what I'm trying to say is that when they could sit down and explain all the details of how a virus transmits,
Mm,
and they could literally like give you this leaflet which wouldn't be too thick, which gives you all of the transfer, the ways that, because essentially the way viruses transfer is the liquids from your body make it
yes,
to the other person.
yes, that's right.
And
Yeah,
of
that's what
course,
I'm trying to say. With so sneeze, a cough, and any spit that comes out my mouth,
yeah.
out my nose. Yeah, yeah. Is
So,
that right?
so any in any liquid, and because, and you see, this is the other thing you have to watch out for is how bacteria is really small,
Yeah.
but viruses are way smaller than bacteria. So
Okay.
even when you've got like like steam,
Like,
yeah, steam.
sorry, what's the word?
No, steam, boiling water.
Steam. Yes, yes.
Yeah, because the viruses are so small, they can easily ride steam particles. Sorry, steam particles.
Right. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because they can ride sort of water vapor that is a lot smaller than what bacteria can ride.
Yes.
So that's essentially what the danger is anything that your body does which vaporizes liquid
Yes.
and sends it in the air.
Yes.
It can get towards you, but obviously when you're outside, there's less chance of that happening.
Okay.
But I think what they're doing with this 2 meters thing is they're just trying to compensate for people who, because obviously you're going to get some people who ignore it and some who
Yes.
follow it religiously.
Yes.
So I think they said 2 meters just so that they can get some distance.
Yes.
Remember, if they said 1 meter, then the ones who are more stubborn, they'd get within like half a meter of you, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So by saying 2 meters, then the
Yeah.
stubborn ones will get within 1 meter of you.
Right. Yes.
I think all it's to do is to um basically, because obviously if you said 3 meters, that's too far to be convenient. So
Yeah.
they have to choose a figure which could work and would basically keep people apart, because obviously, like any scientist will tell you,
Yes.
that the closer you are is the
Yes.
easier it is for that water, well, effectively it's water vapor,
Yes.
reach there, because that's all it is basically.
Yes. Water vapor.
It's can the water vapor from the other person reach you?
Yes.
That's literally
Yes.
what it comes down to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
and
Sure.
and so the 2 meter thing can help now, but I think um but here's the one other thing I was going to say though, because I
Mhm.
keep thinking this every time I see people walk onto the road to go
Yeah.
around you.
Right.
Basically, if you're walking
Mm.
and your mouth is shut,
Yes.
then they don't have to walk around you on the road,
Right.
because
Okay.
the virus goes, the main place that it goes is your lungs and your throat,
Yes.
and the reason for that is so it can get out in the liquid, in the vapor
Yes.
coming out of your mouth.
Yes.
So if your mouth is closed, then they're not going to get anything.
Oh, but of course you can see the problem there, innit? People, and this is what I'm saying. For me, this is the so-called experts' advice. People ain't got time to think that. The general public are not medical people.
That's
All they've got stuck in their mind now is stay 2 meters apart.
yeah, I
They're not.
know.
They're not thinking medically that this guy's not coughing, he's not sneezing, he's not opening his mouth. It's all right if I walk past him.
Yeah,
That takes 2 seconds. They're not thinking that. What they've got stuck in their mind now is, I must not walk past him within 2 meters.
yeah,
They're not thinking that coughing and not coughing is not on their mind. That's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that's the government's fault because of, or the media, if you want, because of how it's been relayed.
no. But like I said to you, they know that you've got varying degrees of people, and they've got different levels of like ignorance,
And
stubbornness,
knowledge. Yeah.
and they know that the majority of people don't if you try to explain something to them, the majority won't get it.
Yeah.
So rather than actually sitting there and explaining to them, so yeah, it's the vapor. It comes from their mouth mostly.
Yeah.
This X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Easier just to say 2 meters, everyone, and that's it.
Yes, of course.
Because then that will then give you the separation. But the problem is, like you say, the ones who you have those people religiously staying 2 meters away from you,
Yeah.
but they're only doing it because the government said so, not
That's
because
what I'm saying. That's because they're sheepish. But to an extent, you can't blame them because, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is because they're not medical, the doctors have given those instructions apparently for medical reasons, but they've
oh, yeah,
given it to people who are not medical. That's the problem.
yeah. So that's
So,
what
so if you've given something to me for a medical reason, all I'm hearing is 2 meters.
yeah,
You see what I'm getting at? I'm not really blaming nobody. I'm just saying there's a kind of cross wire thing. While the doctors are giving you a medical reason to stay away from somebody,
yeah,
you're not thinking of the medical reason. You're just thinking, I now have to stay 2 meters away from the next person.
yeah.
So therefore, it doesn't register that if that person you're walking past is not coughing, sneezing, or spluttering, you don't strictly have to cross over into the road and nearly get yourself knocked over because you don't want to walk past him.
Yeah, but you see, what they're trying to do is they're trying to compensate for the 1 in 100
Yeah.
where someone is. But here's the thing, they don't even have to be coughing; they just have to be talking loud.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
they're
Absolutely.
trying to compensate for the 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000,
Yeah.
where you're going to walk by within less than a meter, and that person is talking loud,
Right.
and a little bit of vapor somehow gets into your nose. So in order to compensate for that 1 in 1,000, where that possibly could
Yeah.
happen,
Yeah.
just tell everyone 2 meters and just let them carry on walking in the road.
Right. If we can, I want to talk about the practical side of this because there's so
Yeah,
much. If we can,
yeah, you
it's what I'm saying is, if this thing's real, just let me pose a couple of stuff.
can.
What I'm thinking, if this thing is real,
Yeah,
it's on that level that I'm understanding that they're telling us that it's real to the extent that somebody cross over into the road and there's a car right behind them. They wouldn't really have done that. Yeah, at the point in which they're not going to walk past me, because I've seen this every day, they
yeah,
cross over into the road and there's a car right behind them. When
yeah,
all they needed to be do is walking right past me. What I'm
yeah,
saying is that the 2 seconds it takes to walk past me is what people don't even want to risk anymore. Somebody walking right past, they're not stopping, they're gonna walk right past me and they'll be gone in literally 2 seconds.
yeah,
But they use that 2 seconds to cross into the road. The 2 seconds that it's going to take to walk past me, they cross into the road where an oncoming car is going. I've seen this all the time. So this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that the danger is right there. The danger element in their mind is that they can't spare that 2 seconds to walk past me. They'll risk the traffic instead.
yeah. But
And what I'm saying is that's because again, it's partly on their fault too because some people are following rules too manically. But
mm,
it's a combination of two things. As I said, I have to say it's a combination of how the media has related stuff, how the media to relay this stuff, and how people receive it. It's a combination of both. It's a bit of stupidity, if you want, or ignorance, or cross wires on both senses. So
but
what I'm saying is, it's not practical. If this thing really exists to that extent that when I come inside, I have to immediately wash my hands. If I sneeze, I have to stay cover my mouth all the time. Stuff that you should do anyway. The
yeah,
stuff that people weren't worried about before. How many times has somebody sneezed in your face, coughed in the back of your neck on the bus? Come out the toilet and not wash their hands.
yeah,
All of a sudden, people are concerned about these things. And what I'm saying is, this. I'll finish here. If it wasn't killing us before, it's not going to kill us now. If all of this daily nastiness and these and the failure to practice basic hygiene hasn't killed us up until now, it's not going to kill us now. Because what I'm saying is these are the practices. They're saying wash your hands. The best medical advice that's been given is as soon as you get inside, wash your hands. Or if you get inside any building, wash your hands. People haven't been doing this before, and we're still alive. What I'm saying is, if it hasn't killed us then, it's not going to kill us now.
yeah. I know, but I think it's essentially and what. But the funny thing about the way what you're saying is that
Hmm.
you know how I'm giving the explanation that's to do with the vapor or essentially liquid vapor that comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, rather than just say 2 meters, they could actually have shut down the soap operas on TV.
Mm.
You've done like an hour program
Mm.
explaining about the vapor and spit and how
Exactly.
stuff comes
Yes.
out of your mouth, etc.
Yes.
But the interesting thing is, I find it interesting that they haven't done that.
No.
But I've just gone with the 2 meters. So, so I can see what you're saying in that point where the government prefers to have the people stupid rather than
Yes.
educating them.
And
And
that's what I'm saying. And let me jump on the side as you said that. I'll let you get back in quick now.
yeah,
This is crowd control.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
control. This
it
element.
is.
And this is separate from saying that the whole thing isn't real. That's what
Yeah,
I'm going to say, because I
yeah,
certainly don't believe it is, but that's not the issue. What I'm
mm,
saying is, even if this whole thing is real,
yeah,
there is still that level of control that can't be missed. So there are two things. It's a level of control. So you can say it's a level of control over something that doesn't exist, or you can say it's the level of control over something that does exist. Either way, there's a level of control that this is being used for, be it real or imaginary.
mm.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying that's where the danger is. The level of control that is being used for. And
And
what I'm saying is, if it exists in the way, but what I'm really saying is, if it exists in the way that they're saying, it's impossible to control. Somebody could have coronavirus but not show any of the symptoms whatsoever. How on earth do you control that? First of all, how do you come to that conclusion that they've got full blown coronavirus but they're not showing any symptoms? If they're not showing, that's like saying you've killed someone but there's no actual evidence that you killed them, but however you did kill them. There is no evidence that you killed anybody, but however you might have killed them.
well, I think the oh no, I think what it is the way they managed to get that evidence was, you know how they said that any people who were in contact with someone who came from China,
Yeah.
that they should come into the hospital to get the you know, where they swab their throat.
Yeah.
So I presume they must have swabbed some people who thought they were at risk, and actually, even though they had no symptoms, they must have found the virus in their throat.
Ah, okay.
So I'm
See,
presuming that's where they get.
right, yes. So you've had to, because they've been so vague, you've had to try and fill in the gaps. And again, that's my problem.
What's that? Oh, yeah, you mean
Because they've been so vague, you've had to fill in gaps here of what they've clearly not been clear about. And that's what I'm saying. They've
yeah.
not been clear about what you're just trying to figure out, or maybe saying it may be. They've not been clear about that at all. They have said that there are people that's got it, and that you can very much have it. They've been clear about that. You can
Mm.
very much have it, but not have any of the symptoms. What I'm saying is, isn't that like saying 1 and 1 is 5? You know,
Oh,
because
oh,
they're not saying you may have it. They're saying there are people that have it and are not aware.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
how do you know they have it if they're not
Yeah.
showing any symptoms?
No, no, but that's one thing I remember that they mentioned. This was even no, they had the lockdown on 23rd of March.
Yeah,
I remember I was following it from before, and this was one of the things that they were asking is that if you've either travelled or you've been in contact with someone who's come from the Far East,
mm,
that you should go to the hospital and get checked. So
yeah,
there's a lot of people who were getting checked not because they had symptoms, but just
because they come from certain countries. Yeah,
yeah, because that was one of the advices that was sent out
yeah,
to that people who have come from a country which might be at risk should be tested. Even though they had no symptoms, they should still go to the hospital
yes,
so that they could test them.
yes.
So I'm presuming that some of those people who went in with no symptoms but got tested, uh,
Okay,
yeah, came through positive, and then that's where they get the that statement of what they're saying about how you could show no symptoms but still have it.
okay.
And anyway, there's also the children. Remember, you know how most children, they say they it doesn't really affect them.
Now that's been proven to be a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, already. First of all, they started off by saying that it only affects the elderly. They said it
Oh,
doesn't affect any young people.
no, 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 not that it doesn't affect them. Just that the it doesn't attack. Well, the body isn't affected by the attack to the extent where they get sick.
But that's not true, as we found out, because that 18-year-old girl that died. Remember
Right.
that early on? That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is at the very start of it, no, at
Mm.
the very, very start. I mean, before the, before the lockdown. No, before all of it. Before the whole, before it basically hit this country. Remember at
Mm.
the stage where it just started hitting this country? Because remember we were dealing with China at first, and no symptoms had been identified here. And then when symptoms started being identified here, the
Yeah.
first explanation of what was going on with this so-called corona was that they'd identified that it attacks people of a certain age and or a certain age bracket, and
Yeah.
young people weren't in that bracket. They said no young people or babies are affected by this. That's what
No.
they were saying
No. No. They,
repeatedly.
no.
In
What he said that he hadn't died.
No, they said affect. No, no. They definitely said not died. No, they said it affects people. They had it in an age range. I'm sure I've
Oh.
got they had it not died. They had it in an age range as it affects those from a certain age and above. And they're saying it don't affect. I remember them saying it doesn't affect teenagers and children. That's what they said
Oh.
at the very start. At the very start of this, they said that until a news report came out. That I'm talking about at the very start, 5 weeks back,
But
6 weeks
who?
back.
But was this from TV though?
This was from TV, from
Oh.
Sky News,
Yeah.
from
No.
yeah.
Their information was a little bit wrong.
Oh no, it wasn't. No, it may have been wrong.
Yeah.
That's fair enough because they can come out and say we've got more information. I'm not saying that. That's fine.
Mm.
Somebody, if your first diagnosis of something is wrong and then you come back and say it's wrong, that's not what I'm criticizing. But
Mm.
what I'm criticizing is that first of all, I'm criticizing. What I'm saying is, if that's the case, if they start off by saying that it can only affect a certain amount of people, and then it can't, and then they find out that, it can affect some younger level of people, then that makes me because you notice what they haven't reported. They haven't reported any babies dying, so we're left to assume, unless you've heard one. I've not heard
No.
any.
No. They said the baby has died.
You heard that?
Yeah. 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 I remember. Yeah.
Uh, I oh, so there you go. So there you go. So now we've got and now this disease has become it can affect everyone. They're saying that in the public adverts now. Anybody can get it. That's what they're
Yeah.
saying now. But they weren't saying that to start with, and that's fair enough. The criticism is not that at one point they felt it only affected certain amount of people and didn't. That's not the criticism. What I'm saying is, if that's the case, that means that at the time, yeah, when they were saying it only affects adults, it may have been affecting younger people. And at the time when they were only saying it's affecting now adults and younger people, it may have been affecting babies. So that means in between that time when they were saying it only, for example, only affects adults and they were only reporting adults' deaths, there may have been lots of young people that are dying that they
Yeah.
haven't reported because they won't now go back and say at the time when we're saying it doesn't affect young people, it may have affected them. And if it was affecting them when they were saying it wasn't affecting them, how many of them would have died? We haven't heard
Uh,
those reports.
no. It's they from what I was reading, because even from when I was reading about it from quite a few weeks ago, because basically there's a site which I go to called livescience.com, and
Mm,
they had like a lot of information on it.
yeah.
And what they said is that the basically, as with any virus, viruses always affect everyone. So there's no such thing as you can't get a virus.
Yes.
So that basically doesn't exist.
But
So
are we agreeing that they did say that? Are you not agreeing then that they did say that at the beginning that it doesn't
no
affect young people?
no. What they said would have been wrong, because on
Oh
when
no,
I
that's fine. But are you acknowledging that they did? Are you aware that they said that, or you were saying that
no
they never said that? I'm just wondering what you're
because
saying.
I never listened to what the TV said, so I'm just going by what I read on Live Science.
Right. Okay.
And what they were saying is that obviously everyone can get affected by a virus, so that's normal.
So
That's
is that what life science was always saying from the very beginning?
no. This is normal. Every any ask any doctor, and they'll tell you that there's no such thing as you can't be affected by a virus.
So then why did they say that it doesn't affect young people?
No, that's what I'm saying. The way they said it was wrong.
Right. Okay.
They shouldn't have said it that way.
Okay.
What they should have said, because this is what I was reading on the Live Science way back
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
is that the younger you are, the less symptoms you tend to show.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
That's what they said, and that's how what they said from the beginning.
Right.
So basically, a baby literally, like they were saying, the babies were showing like literally nothing,
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
the virus is in them.
Right.
Yeah,
They were showing nothing, but it was in them. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but if they ever said that you can't, the one thing they should never say is that you can't get a virus, because
Yeah.
that's a stupid statement.
Right.
So they shouldn't have tried to imply anything like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, right. Okay. So let me ask you then. Do you okay, what parallels, if we can, what parallels can be okay, let's go back a bit because you said that okay, your belief is that it's divine, yeah, that God had his hand in this. Is that am I right saying that?
Well, because the effects and the way the effects
Yeah,
are controlled.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I ask you then? I mean, do you say that based on this question, do you say that purely based on some examples that can be picked up from scripture of how God has done this before, which is clear. You know, God has done these things before, but can that be scripturally? But can that and historically? But can that be you? Because we can look back and say that you know there are examples of this in the scriptures that God's done it before historically. Therefore, this is an example. Is that a good way to access that it's divine now? Because we can look at scripture and say it's happened with the plagues in Egypt and other things like this, and the scripture talks about famines in the last times. Can we use those scriptures to say, therefore, it's going on now, as scripture said?
Well, I'm not. The thing is, I'm not using it to like make a doctrine.
Right.
So obviously, it's just my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. I
So,
just
so,
okay.
so all I'm doing is showing how. No, because this is the thing that made me. It's the effects which are happening.
Yeah.
Is the thing that more points me in that direction.
Right.
Because if you compare it to something like how when we had the riots over here when they like a few years ago, when they burned down Reeves Corner and a few other places in
Right. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say something like that.
Right.
I wouldn't say, even though obviously God allowed it to happen, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it's part of his plan
Right.
where
Okay.
he'd like go around, getting people to do that because it's
Yes.
some divine plan. I'd just say that that's just one of these things that's happened
Right. Sure.
that
Okay.
God's allowed to happen. But what I'm saying with the virus is that it's more specific due to the effects that happen because of it.
Right.
So especially the fact that it's getting to shut the place down.
Yes.
See, I don't think that anyone else. Uh, I don't even think even if say man tried to come up with this virus, I don't even think they would think that it would be able to shut the place down. But God,
Okay.
you would know exactly that's what would happen.
Okay. So let me ask you then, if it was something that could be weighed up in terms of has this whole thing done more good than bad, as it were. Like for example, we can point the examples of, and I'm agreeing with you, certain places have been shut down that need to be shut down. I don't know how well it's been shut down. I would like to assume that the prostitution isn't existing none at all, but I doubt that. Yeah. I'm just wondering, has the whole prostitution industry been smashed by this?
Well, they have to close all the brothels, isn't it? Because that would count. So
Right. Okay. So that's a good thing. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. And I know, for example, like somebody's been sending me information about certain, Hollywood films have been cancelled. Like there was this new film series coming out. I think it was series 2 or something. I think they've done it before, called Lucifer. That's been cancelled. So somebody is basically looking at certain things, in Hollywood and certain concerts that they've been planning, certain demonic concerts. There's this young girl called Billie Eilish. Not if you heard of her. Her concert was cancelled. The Little Devil Child.
right.
They cancelled the series called Lucifer. These are good things. What I'm saying, you know what
Mm,
I mean? Crimes off the street,
yeah.
certain gang shootings. That's all. So you can point to a lot of stuff that's good. Now, the question I'd like to ask you, if I can, is if it could be weighed up. If you could weigh up how many things that we would both agree are good, it's good that those things have gone, they've been shut down,
Mm.
compared to lots of things that need to be going on and existing that have also been shut down. If you could weigh up, just for an example, where would you say the balance is? Has it done more? Has it shut down more negative things, or has it shut down more positive things or good things? If you could say.
Well, I'd say what I'd say is that the effects it's had is,
Mm.
I would say it's balanced, because I don't think the point of it is to shut them down, because obviously we all know that eventually they're going to try and open them back up.
Yeah.
What I feel this is more of a warning to certain people.
Right.
So if there's any people out there
Yeah.
who are a bit more awake than the others,
Yes.
this is like now for them to look at, see what's happening,
Okay.
and they should be able to see and realize that A, how fragile life actually is,
Yep. Yep.
and then B, to realize that all these things like the cinema,
Yeah.
nightclubs,
Yeah.
football matches, and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
They realize that we don't actually need them in life.
Absolutely.
If we actually needed them, then people would be dying, wouldn't they?
That's right, absolutely. And let me jump in very quickly and say to you, I'll let you carry on. One thing that I would, I don't know if you agree, but one thing that I would, not to say that it mustn't go on, there's nothing wrong with it, but one thing that I could personally, this is me personally, could clearly see is not necessarily needed, not to say that it mustn't exist so, is certain jobs where now people are clearly working at home.
All right.
And then they're still getting on with the job that they have to go into the office to do every single day. This is not to say that, they mustn't go into the office and do the job. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is what you can clearly see is that that's not a reason to stop somebody from having a job. If there was a situation where, for example, so in other words, I can see in this already that somebody, let's say there was a job in Bristol and I live in London and it's too far to get to Bristol. There would be none, and they'd say, no, sorry, unfortunately, your distance is, not in line with, our employment policy. There would be nothing stopping me from getting that job because of the distance. They could simply let me work from home.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So I'm saying that to say that, this is what this situation has brought up, because certain jobs, either the individual, the person that's looking for a new job, would say, no, that job's too far, it's in Bristol, I live in London. Or if they didn't say that, the employer would say, no, you're too far, our job's in Bristol, you live in London. But what I'm saying is that job, there's no reason based on that distance, as we can clearly see now, for the person to not get the job. They could do it from home if you wanted them. If you really wanted that person and they were the right person for the job, I would actually be for that person at that distance getting that job rather than somebody that could go into the office and do that job. In regards to it being the right person, if I'm the right person for the job, as long as we establish that, if I'm the right person for the job, I should get the job even above the person that could get transport and get there physically. What I'm saying is this is what shows up here for me, because there's been examples of that. And I'm saying if we took any good lessons from it, this is one of the things that I would like to come out of it in thinking about some good lessons. Somebody should not get a job simply because they could get there at the expense of somebody that can't get a job because they can't get to the duration, when we can clearly see that jobs can work from home. You know what I mean? So if we were talking about, improving society, if you want to say examples from this that can improve society, I would say that should be one. Because in that way, I can see a lot more people being employed.
Yeah.
Because you can simply do the job from home and send in the evidence. That's what I mean.
Well, it's not even that. There's certain ways you can work from home where the employer can actually that see your desktop.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see you at home working.
Well, they can see your screen.
Yes. Yeah. So they see that you're doing the job. Yes. Absolutely, yeah, and I just said that to say, I'm just using that as an example, as you sort of saying, there's certain things we're clearly seeing now that we don't need, but unfortunately, human beings being human beings, if we're allowed to go back out and play, as I call it, quite simply, if the government comes back and says, okay, it's all right to go back out now, I see that nothing much is going to change. People would quickly get back into their modes of the things that they clearly proved that they didn't need and just carry on doing, because we are, as they say, creatures of habit, aren't we? And that's all of us. That includes me as well. And I'm not just saying other people, because, I strongly believe that we're creatures of habits. And even though we've clearly seen things that we clearly don't need in this period of time now, being creatures of habit, we would still go back to these unnecessary things. Even though we've now proved that we don't need them, and nobody's dropping dead because of them. Nobody's dying because there's certain things that you can't do now. We can clearly see that we can get on by without them. But such is human nature that if they say you can go back out tomorrow, we can go straight back to these things. That's just human nature. That's what I say. Whereas we don't need to, which is what I'm saying.
Well, you can tell there's a lot of people who just can't wait to get back to them. But this is what I think what's happening here is it's like it's a message to certain people. So I think the ones who it's not a message to, it won't make any difference to them.
Yes,
they're just literally waiting for
to go back out. Yeah,
and it would have made not the slightest difference. But
yes,
but I think the people, because I don't know if you heard about what's happening in America when it comes to the unemployment.
In regards to
how the numbers have shot up because of this.
Oh yes, I have.
Yeah. So
more people unemployed. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I don't know, the people who, it's almost as if it's a message to the people who might be more affected by it. Like
right.
The time might be getting close for them to wake up for something's going to happen.
Yes.
So and this is the thing. So when the time comes, it can now be used as a reminder so people understand
right
how fragile life is.
Yes.
So then when if God does something and gives them a choice, they'll say,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I remember what happened with this,"
Right.
and it'll be in their mind,
Yes.
and it will make them. This is kind of what obviously this is just a theory I've got,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that of what benefit will come from this, for God
Yes.
basically,
Yes.
that it's more for uh to be in people's minds,
Yes.
and I suppose one reason I think of this is that I don't know if you've ever noticed, when you read in the Bible and it talks about Mary,
Yeah.
have you noticed how the times it keeps saying about how she's always thinking about different things?
Mary,
Yeah,
mother of Jesus.
yeah.
In what sense thinking of different things? What do you
No,
mean?
no, you notice it a few times where it says that she was either thinking or
Yes, yeah. Like for example, when the angel approached her and she pondered on these things. You mean that, for example?
that's what I mean. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's almost as if that people who are like her,
Yeah.
that's what this like what's happened here is for.
Right.
So for them, that
Okay.
yeah, that all actually wants them to think about what's happened.
Yes.
Actually,
True. That's
so
true.
it's not a virus strike to like take out a load of people and
Yes.
you can run.
Right.
No, I don't think that's what the purpose of it is.
Oh, right.
It's more,
For example, God wants to get their attention. A particular.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody's. Yeah.
How I see it. Yeah.
Okay,
Mm,
right. Okay, interesting. That's interesting. Okay, let me ask you as well. Again, I'm thinking in terms of what am I thinking in terms? I mean, in terms of, I mean, for me personally, the idea of the church is shutting down is
mm,
obviously a bad thing on the face of it. But
mm,
I'll be honest, as an individual and a Christian, I can see some good in that as well, in terms of because I believe that things that are bad have some good in it, as it were. In terms of, for example, I would like to hope that it would let Christians think more about what the church really is and what it means. As in
mm.
to say that the church is us, the people, and not so much the building.
Oh
So
yeah.
you know what I mean. So personally, for me, if we could get out of that the church is the people. So right now we're saying the churches are closed, and they are. But what's really closed is the church building is closed.
Mm,
And hopefully, if we learn that the church building, not the church, the building that the church is used, because I believe that the church are the people, the church are the flesh and blood members. That's what I
mm,
believe and understand.
yeah.
So the building that's used by the church, which is the flesh and blood people members, is
Mm,
closed. But
mm,
the church should very much still be active. Obviously, the action is going to be in a different way in terms of that you can't meet up and stuff like that, and it's going to be online. But
yeah.
in terms of the church's existence, still, the church is not closed down, or rather, shouldn't be closed down. The church are just not any at present able to use their building, and they're also restricted from meeting up with each other. But
Yeah.
in terms of being alive and still in existence, the church is very much still in existence, or rather should be,
Mm,
as in to say as in the people, because we, the flesh and blood members of the church, we're not closed down or shouldn't be closed down, as it were. The building that we use is closed down, and
mm,
so therefore, if we're not closed down, as we shouldn't be closed down, as we're the flesh and blood members, and yes, of course, we can't meet physically, but we shouldn't be dead, as it were. We should still be very much be alive, and blood pumping through our veins.
yeah. But here's the other thing is
Yeah.
I think this is also a message to the people relating to their pastors as well,
Mm.
because here's where the people can see how I don't know how in the know their pastor is.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
basically, if there's any church where they've got like nothing online at all,
Yes. Yes.
and that pastor all he knows about is just the building,
Yes.
then they'll know that their
Absolutely.
yeah, their particular pastor is not maybe it looks like he's a bit lacking for when things
Yes.
might.
I mean, if you haven't got any services or any activities going on online at the time, you know what I mean? Any church that hasn't, is that what you mean?
Yeah, and the thing about it is that every church should be able to do it because
Yeah.
yeah, everyone's got internet now, isn't
Well,
it?
they can certainly have somebody in the church that's computer savvy to set that up. Every church
Yeah,
should have, unless it's really
yeah,
small, definitely. Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
No, no, but even the small ones should.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Even a small church should have an individual, I mean, that can get the church going up online.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone with computer knowledge, I mean,
Mm.
to be able to do that. Yeah. Every church should have one, once you've got some members in there, if you've got 20 members in there, such is life today, somebody in there is good at computers,
And
that
yeah,
can say,
no,
yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking, so now even the people in churches,
Yeah,
because they have to try and communicate like online or by other means apart from the building,
yeah,
then this is now something that which they're going to remember as well.
yes,
So it's like there's so many different groups who are having a new experience
yes,
that could stay in their heads and could
yes,
make some sort of difference
yes,
in the future.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But let me ask you again,
Mm,
how because we don't know, as I said, this is all up in the air and it's indefinite. The
mm,
situation that we're in at the moment is definitely indefinite, as it were.
mm.
There's no plans of this lifting. There'll be variations of changes, but they won't more or less be. I can't see in the foreseeable future. I think this lockdown is more or less permanent. So if I can, so if it's kind of more or less permanent, indefinite, as it were, as we can see from where we are now,
Mm.
what does that mean? I mean, how effective? How much longer is it all right to just keep church? I'm talking about. I'm talking about the church now. How
Yeah.
much longer can it be all right, or will it be all right for to just keep existing in the way that we now have to, just online? Is that good enough? Surely that's not good enough. Because
No.
remember that when the church is operating in buildings,
Mm,
there's online stuff. So online stuff are not going to start existing now because of this. They already do exist.
mm.
What's going to happen is more is going to where it didn't exist, it's going to exist because of this. But this is by no means a new phenomena. So what? So my question in that is, how long will this be good enough for, or must we get by on this?
Oh,
Is this what the church has been reduced to online in the 21st century only?
no. See, this is the other thing about it is that the way I see it is that it's happening now,
Yeah.
but obviously there's going to be a break at some point. But what people have to understand is that it's not because God's doing it so that we can go back to enjoying life.
Mm.
It's more that we get the break, but obviously, like you say, we need that break to meet.
Yes.
But then what might happen is that when we finally get back together,
Yeah.
what happens then might be slightly different than what it would have been if this didn't happen.
Absolutely. Can you give an
What
example of what you're thinking by that,
might-
if you can?
Hmm?
Can you give an example, if you can, of what you're thinking about, how things
Well,
may, if
well,
we
well,
do get back to, yeah,
here's one interesting one which
yeah,
I've already witnessed, and
mm,
I don't know what effect it will have. Is that
yeah,
like there's one place I go to the online meeting,
yeah,
and so normally they would meet in Croydon, but then when I'm there at the online meeting, there's people from different places on there,
yeah,
and then there's even I even saw some names of some people who like used to go to church,
right,
and I haven't even seen them recently. But then
okay,
I saw their names pop up on,
right.
and
Where did these names pop up? What are you referring to?
hmm?
Where did the names of these people pop up? You're saying
No, I was there on the
online,
yeah, on the conference,
right? Okay.
and you can see their names at the bottom. So
Oh, right, sure, sure,
I
yeah,
always sit there and like go through all of the
yes.
icons to see who the names are.
Oh, right, yes, of course,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and it's just the
yeah.
fact that if it was just the normal service at in the building, a lot of those people wouldn't be there. But the fact it's online,
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Okay, right. Now,
so
okay, yeah. Go on, Karen.
so the thing about it is that even though they have the yeah, you have the service in the church, why can't people do more online stuff anyway outside of hours?
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think that is? Do you think that's because it's easier to just be sitting at home rather than getting in your car or getting on the bus, and why there might be more gathering there online, or do you see it as a good thing, or as it were? The fact that you've witnessed that there's more people than would be in a church building. I mean,
Oh
is that a good thing, or is that because it's easier?
no, this isn't to do with whether they turn up. These are different people who wouldn't normally come to that church anyway.
Oh, you mean like somebody that wouldn't visit church?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
But these ones who haven't seen visit, they're suddenly turning up online.
Oh, right. Oh,
So,
sorry. I used to be clear. Are you saying these people wouldn't come to a church building? Is that what you mean?
I haven't seen them in it. That's the thing,
Yes, right, sure.
and I haven't heard anyone say to me that they've turned up either.
Right. Oh, okay, right.
So it's as if they're more. But what I'm more trying to say is that
Mm,
it's almost as if it's exposing a little bit the limitations of the building only like
r-
ministry.
right, sure.
Because
Yes,
with the building only, those extra people wouldn't have been there.
yes.
So
Oh,
now
yes, of course.
online one, and those extra ones showed up.
Yes.
So it's almost as if it shows that even if they do get to go back into their buildings, churches should have an online presence.
Oh, absolutely. And if for those that didn't have one and have one now or gonna get one in the future, if this is what the lesson that came out of that, that would be a good thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the fact that
If that as a result of this they got one where they didn't have one before and we're probably never gonna have one for a long time.
just yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Mm.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Now let me ask you again, but in regards to, because I'm trying to weigh up, what's good and bad. Firstly, let me say, in regards to you saying that it's God,
Mm.
I really wish. I mean, I really wish it was personally, or rather, let me say, I would be more comfortable with it. I would be more comfortable if this, if it could be established, or if I could be convinced, or if I was that it was strictly God that did this to get people's attention, rather than any idea that some human man has done this to, like play God or something like that. You mean? I want to make that clear. So although I don't, I'm having problems with, the idea, because I think there's some definite human interference here,
Mm.
completely personally, and maybe on the spiritual level as well. But what I'm saying there, what I'm saying there would be, I would be happy, and it would sit well with me if I could conclude conclusively that this was an act of God purely. Because a divine act of God for him to get, send a message to planet Earth, quite simply, that would sit well with me, rather than any idea that it was, some level of high government or human interference.
Oh yeah, but there's one thing you have to remember though is that do you remember what happened in it's First Kings 22, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
go on, sorry, go on.
with the prophet Micaiah.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah, go on. Remind
but,
me.
yeah, but I remember when you said that you saw he saw God on the throne,
Yeah,
and so basically God asked who would go to was it make Ahab fall at Ramoth Gilead?
oh right, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Is that Micah?
Hmm?
Is that in
No,
Micah?
no, his name is Micaiah, I think his name was.
Oh, Micah, that's right. Yeah, that's in Kings. Is that right?
Yeah, it should be
Yeah,
First 22.
yeah. Okay, yeah. Go on,
Mm.
Karen. Yeah, yeah. Go on, Karen. Sorry.
So essentially, God wanted something done,
Yeah,
but he was asking who would do it, and
yeah,
in the and it was actually that spirit that came up. I said that's
yes.
how they would do it.
Right.
So the reason I'm saying this because you remember you said the bit about the something spiritual.
Yes, there could be a spiritual element to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
What I meant by spiritual was that if it was human interference, I mean on a spiritual level, like inspired by.
oh
That's what I meant.
yeah, no, but the humans they can't you
But no, what I mean is that Satan could have simply inspired some humans. I mean on that level, the way
oh
Satan inspires human beings that are not for God. That's what I mean.
yeah, but going by how Satan did his attacking what is it in droves, I'd see more Satan seems to be more into like dropping a nuke or something like that rather than you know
You mean dropping an atomic bomb and blow up everybody rather than selective? Is that what you mean?
that sounds like a Satan one,
Okay.
but
Okay.
yeah, something
Okay.
a bit more subtle like this.
Right.
It just seems a bit. It seems a bit advanced for
Okay, is that how you're feeling? Okay, but you got to bear in mind. Okay, fair enough. But don't you bear in mind the fact that if those numbers of people that are dying are to be believed, that's a lot of people still, and around the globe.
yeah, but then
Collectively, it's still a lot of people. Even if you wanted to say it was in a certain age bracket, even if that was the case, collectively, globally, it's still tons of people. That is an atomic bomb.
yeah, oh no, but 100. Well, no, yeah, atomic bomb is 300,000, I think.
No, I just mean in terms of it's still a lot of people. In terms of it's lots and it's thousands of people like in individual countries. That's what I
Yeah,
mean. That's collectively, globally, that's a lot of people.
yeah.
I mean, yeah. So what I'm saying in that sense, it's a kind of indiscriminate bomb, kind of.
Oh yeah, but you see, that's the thing about with when you read in Job is
Yeah,
that it was God who gave sort of Job's people into Satan's hands,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then if you remember in chapter 2, then God says,
yes,
Look what He made me do."
yes,
So essentially, the um, it's possible that well, not even really possible. It's most likely
yeah,
that I'm looking on it being a bit more like the scenario with First Kings 22, where God wants something doing, but He's just given whoever the they can get the job done, but within limits. If you get what I mean.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. Yeah, I'm hearing you. All right. So what you're saying is, to be clear, to make sure that I'm understanding you, because I heard. Are you saying that you're saying that if it was man, or if it was other than God,
Oh no.
you know,
Uh, see, I'm less inclined to think it's man because of the technical. So
right?
so I know that obviously Satan and any of the spirits, they would have the technical know-how to do the virus properly.
Yes.
But I don't from because of the way how subtle the virus operates. I think it's beyond the man to be able to know precisely how the body would react to it.
Okay. How about if it's man Satan inspired? Surely Satan does. Satan has some level of, like, I mean, even right there in Job, Satan had some authority over nature, didn't he? That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, although you notice when he actually struck the boils, he did that himself.
Who's that?
Satan, when
Yeah.
when he struck Job with boils,
Yeah.
yeah. So Satan did that directly. He didn't bring anyone in to do that part.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
That is true. That's true. Yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah. That's a
so,
good point. Very good point.
and
Okay.
so
Right.
that's what I'm saying. So obviously Satan has a direct knowledge of the body and how to strike
Right.
with the illness
Right.
in a way which doesn't kill you.
Yes.
So
Okay.
yeah. So that's why I'm saying with the when it comes to the technical know-how to have this virus operate in a precise way to get a precise result.
Yes.
I just don't feel that man has quite enough knowledge, whereas the Bible already shows us that the spirit,
Okay.
they do have that
Okay.
knowledge to be able to accurately.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
fair enough. That's fair enough. Okay. That's interesting. That leads me on to my next bit. I like that. What if then that's the case? What if we can conclude? Okay. What if we could conclude that it's God, um and it's not man, as in man didn't try and drop something on humanity. So
What,
sorry.
what, yeah, what I'm saying is, it's not man. Basically, man didn't. It wasn't the one who came up with the initial plan. Basically.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. That's fair enough. Right. And it was God. It was divine.
Mm.
Okay. What if it's the case then that as a result of a divine act of God, man is using government, men in high power, positions of power and
Mm.
authority are using this to manipulate the planet? That could still be the case.
Oh,
Even if it's a divine act of God, in comes human beings as they do, opportunists that they are, government and
yeah.
people in power to use it to manipulate. It's a government uses it to manipulate their citizens,
Oh
and,
no.
and governments use it on a whole to manipulate the planet,
Yeah.
even if it was from God.
Yeah. No. But you see, that's guaranteed.
Right.
Um. So obviously, God will send it,
Yeah.
and part of the outcome is God knowing how they'll use it.
Yeah.
So that's why it seems to me as if it's been tailored in a way.
Oh, okay. So let me understand you. I like that. So you're saying that obviously God knows, as we know, God knows everything, and He knows, and so God did this act. Is God did it completely? It's His hand,
Mm.
and obviously He knows that man are going to use it that way. So you're saying that's a part of it. He's allowing that,
Yeah,
knowing that some
but
opportunistic individuals going to come on board and use it to terrorize people. God has also is suffering over that.
no. But you think He knows they're going to do it. But this is the thing. This is why I'm thinking that because of how God knows they're going to use it, that's why I have a feeling that there's going to be God's going to has to send something else within some period of time.
Okay, what do you mean send something else,
No,
such as?
no, because if He doesn't do something else,
Yeah,
then this all that will happen with this current situation is that man will
yeah,
take advantage of it,
yeah,
and nothing much will change.
yeah.
So God would have to actually do something in order to then for God Himself to take advantage of the warning He sent. Because
Okay,
yes, so
okay.
it's as if what's happening now. Um, I mean, you even said it yourself that this isn't the end of it.
No,
So
definitely isn't. Phase two next.
yeah, so this virus wasn't sent in order so that we just go through, a little bit of
And then
suffering.
go back to normal.
Yeah, that's it. So it's
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
It's something was supposed to change
Right.
because of it,
Yes.
and that we're going to find out what that is.
Okay, right.
Make ourselves ready for whatever it is.
Okay, and if, for example, and would you understand that next stage to be, for example, if the government just uses this to, for example, let the whole world go cashless, or something like that, or yeah, let the whole world go cashless. And for example, let's give some other examples. As of here on, when this gets over, let's say, for example, some there are some changes that people like maybe looking forward to. So, for example, you can go out again more, but now when you go out again more, you're restricted still. As in, if the police see you and they just want to tell you to go home, now it's too late. They can do that. If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is, if things go back to normal in the sense that they say you can go back out into society now, I'm saying it's definitely going to be the same. There's going to be some other drastic changes now, as in the police have the right to, if they just see you standing out and it's 1 o'clock and you doesn't look like you're doing anything specific, they've got the legal right to tell you to go home.
well, I
No,
think
that's just an example I'm using. What I'm saying is, but that would be a severe change now that you can, because now that you can go back out. At the same time, the police can send you back home whenever they feel like it.
yeah, but I think what this is more about is I mean I don't know what effect this might have, but
Yeah.
it kind of shows you the power of the, because you realize that now in this current situation that the doctors actually have more power now,
Yes.
because you realize that they,
And so do the cops.
well, yeah, to some degree, but it's still really the doctors who are dictating, and the scientists.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kind of shows you that but obviously I don't know if it's what I'm seeing though is that there's obviously going to be some sort of power shift of some kind,
Yeah.
and we're basically going to be finding out. And I have a feeling that this power shift is like the warning to us.
Yes.
So when we see it, that's when we have to realize that trying to live a happy life, it's like God's trying to tell us, look, it's not going to work.
Right.
And you
Okay.
might think you have all these nice governments who are here.
Yeah. Because that's what people. Yeah. That's what people think.
Because of this, it's like we're going to find out sooner or later
Right.
that we're being a bit naive.
And what message is ultimately coming through from this? If you're saying from God, if he's telling us, look, things are not going to go back to what they were, or what's the ultimate message? I mean, is it
Oh,
going to what's the ultimate? Is it going to lead to salvation? Is it going to lead to more people being saved, or what's going to be the ultimate? Yeah.
here's the interesting part is that when you're reading the Bible
Yeah.
and you see how the different situations where like when God's rescuing Israel,
Yeah.
you notice that every time it actually says that it's either the people cried
Yeah.
or God heard the cries of the people.
Yeah.
And it's just like when we're in this current situation where everyone's all cozy and relaxed,
Mm.
no one's really crying, are they?
No. Yeah. No. They're
But,
too happy.
but you get this feeling that maybe the crying level is going to be increasing a bit after this.
Okay. Crime level in what sense? You mean
No,
when you say crime?
where people understand that finally that it's not the government that they should be expecting to save them.
Oh, right. Absolutely. That's true.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think, okay, right. Can you see that actually manifesting long term? I mean, how long would it be before people go back to, thinking that the government is the final authority and that they are God and that, yeah, absolutely, kind of, because right now, yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. But remember, even though you have those sort of people who are like the lemmings, the ones who will go out and get run over in the road,
yeah,
not everyone's like that. So there's obviously going to be some people who can see what's changed, and then they'll realize that like life is not as cozy as they thought it was,
yes. Mm.
and it's as
And
if
you
maybe,
got time.
yeah, maybe there's some of those people who might their minds might realize that it really is only God who can save them,
Right.
whatever's
Okay.
happening, and that they
Right.
stop thinking so much about the government.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
Right. And that will lead to and this will lead to salvation for some people,
No, well,
or what are you thinking, or just that they'll realize that man is not God. Or, is that what you mean?
no, but see, this is the thing. This is where you can only really be guessing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So the furthest I can see is that there's going to be more people who realize that they shouldn't be
Yes.
thinking of the government as being their salvation as much.
Yes, and voting and things like that, and yeah, absolutely, yeah, and prime ministers and leaders. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So
That's true.
so
You need to know.
but the thing about it is that what happens then is really they have to decide what it is. Um. Well, I know, but these are the things. This is mostly guesswork. So, but the only thing I will say,
Yeah.
without having to try to guess too much,
Yes.
is that there's going to be more people out there whose ears are going to be more open,
Yes.
and it's going
Yes.
to be down to people to like use what's happened now as a reminder,
Yes.
but for whatever's is going to happen
That's
later
true.
on, because you know how you're saying the government's going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. They do it already. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So when the next thing happens where you see they're taking some sort of unnecessary advantage,
Yeah.
that's when it's time to sort of try and find the ones whose ears are more open.
Right. Okay. Yes, that's true. That's
Mm.
true. I mean, I suppose. Yes. Yes. That's what you mean. I suppose
But
at this time. Yeah. Go on, Karen.
I
Karen.
was going to say that I would say with what's happening now, that's the main thing we will have to look for.
Yeah.
It's like, is someone going to make a move to try and do this, that, and the other?
In regard to what? In what sense you mean?
Oh no, but that's the thing. I don't know, because you see, remember that a lot of this is up in the air in that we don't know when things are going to be going.
Yeah. They know, as I said. Yeah. We don't. Yeah. That's it. That's what you
So,
can
so
conclude.
whatever's going to
Yeah.
happen
Yeah.
is likely going to happen at that time or after.
Right.
So because we don't have a time of knowing when whatever the next phase is,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
this this seems to me that this is a little bit of a waiting game.
Yes, the waiting game. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it absolutely is. Yeah, we just really don't know. But okay, let me ask you another question as well, actually, because
Mm.
in terms of, is there any science here, or what do you mean? Is there any science here, anything sort of specific, and not just general? Because people, if you can, or if you see any, in regards to end times. Or is it just another phase where, because a lot of people are saying, is this a precursor to any real biblical end times event, or is this just another phase that will,
Well,
you know,
well.
in terms of, yeah, in terms of a real sense, is this some kind of sign towards the end, or a precursor to the end, or is it just another phase in human history? I mean, maybe
Well,
different. Yeah,
I'll tell you. There's one way we can find out, or
yeah,
we'll know,
yeah.
and that is if any earthquakes come. So all I know
Okay,
is if any earthquakes happen in like diverse places
right.
anytime soon, then yeah, I think you're gonna have to say end time straight away. Then
Okay, if there's an earthquake, you mean literally if there's an earthquake in India or
no.
Africa, or what do you mean?
Remember, it says diverse places.
Oh,
So
in more than one place.
yeah, but you know how the usual places for earthquakes are like
Yeah,
Sicily,
yeah,
Japan.
yeah, that's right. India,
But
place like that. Yeah.
yeah, but do you ever remember when they had the earthquake over here?
Yes, I very much do. Because I remember I was talking to, what year was that again?
Oh, was that 90? It's either early 2000 or 1990.
Yeah, because I was talking to a lot of people about it and saying we take for granted that when we hear about earthquakes, it's going to be in Southeast Asia. I
Yeah.
remember saying that to people in Africa, but here we are, so and yeah, absolutely. I remember I spoke about that a lot actually in regards to like in the context of now, because it's not something people are used to. Yes, I
Mm.
do remember it. Yeah,
But I would say that if you're in England, if you're in London and you see the
yeah,
earth and you see a crack in the earth
yeah.
and the ground shakes, then it's time to like run and just
Okay.
panic.
Okay. So to be clear, are you saying that if you see earthquakes in more than one place, several places over a period of time, you would see that as some kind of marker towards the end or precursor? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the thing is, so we got the pestilence,
Yeah.
and then do you know what's happening with them locusts that are supposed to be attacking Israel at some point?
That was Arabia, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's going up to that area. It's
Oh,
going
yes,
really.
that's right. Yes, absolutely. No, I stopped following that story, actually. The one that attacked the Mecca area, yeah, and then is that right? And then went forward.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I didn't see where it's reached, but
Yeah, no, I've lost track of that story. Do you know about it?
no, I haven't been following it.
All right. Okay.
But because we already got the rumors of
Yeah.
wars,
Yeah.
and so we got pestilence. So the only thing that's really missing is the earthquake in diverse places.
Yes. Okay, and then at that point, where would you say we are in end times? I mean, how far off? I mean, when you say it's
Oh,
it's
yeah, no,
ooh.
that's as Jesus said, that's the Father's got to put that in his hands, isn't it?
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah,
Only
oh, of course, absolutely.
yeah.
But wouldn't there still be a very big picture missing? I know people's got different interpretations of it, but
Mm.
I think there are some other key stuff that needs to happen before. Literally, if we're talking about the return of Christ, there are some
Oh,
other key stuff that needs to
yeah,
happen before that happens, like like the man of sin,
yeah,
a deeper level of apostasy,
yeah.
and then
But these first things, they have to happen first before that the bigger things. So these the earthquakes and the pestilence and oh yeah, I forgot famine's missing, isn't it? So we
yeah,
haven't famine in Europe yet.
yeah,
So yeah, so I suppose that's two things.
yeah.
But
But
funny enough, talking about the famine, have you seen the story in America where they're destroying all them crops?
no,
Oh, you haven't seen that?
who's destroying crops? So what's happening?
Yeah, there's a video where this guy in a tractor is just driving the tractor over this field full of crops.
Okay, what does that mean? What's going on?
Well, because all the restaurants are closed, so they're not buying his food.
Oh, well, he's who driving it. He's driving over these crops.
Yeah, yeah, he's driving the tractor. He's just putting the
What does that mean? What's he saying? What's it implying?
no, he's just destroying the crops because no one's buying it.
So he's destroying his own crops. That's like getting rid of his business.
Yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
well, basically, he's just digging it back into the earth because obviously, if you plow the crops back into the earth, then
Yes.
obviously it decomposes.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
but what they were saying is that even though there isn't really a shortage of food, what the problem
There
is
isn't at
is
all.
that
Yeah.
um, if these farmers go out of business,
Yeah.
then they might be the same guys who are supplying some of the normal food chain as well.
Okay. Oh.
Mm.
Oh. You mean like the normal supermarket stuff?
Yeah, but I didn't know whether. But you see, this guy isn't necessary. But what they were saying in the story was that
Yeah.
they weren't being that clear. But it's all they're essentially saying is that there is some effect that this is having on the farmers.
Okay.
So it's like it's something that we might have to keep an eye on.
Yes. So are you saying though that some of these same farmers are the ones that are applying the normal food chain? Is that what you meant?
Well, no, BC, that's what I don't know. But I'm
All
saying
right.
if that is the case,
Yeah.
and they end up going bust, then
Yes.
it might because remember the in order to supply food's based on the area of land you've got.
Yes. Yes.
So if a certain farmer goes bust, then that land that he was farming from, you lost it.
Yes. I
And
find that interesting actually because the earth, the ground is really sort of, where what's the word? In regards to food and more natural food and more organic food, the ground
mm,
is where is where there should be what's the word? Is where there should be more potential, really. More potential for the food change. That's of course, I'm talking here now. If people decide to go so called healthier, and
yeah,
and eat differently is what I'm thinking of.
yeah, because
I'm just thinking the reason why I'm saying that is I'm thinking people are thinking now, because there's this myth actually apparently, as you said, there's no food shortage. But if people are thinking that there's some kind of food shortage and I need to store up food and food ain't going to be in the store, well, this would be a good time to get more of a better. I'm saying this would be a good time to get more of a better understanding of how natural foods is produced from the ground.
yeah,
To the point that if you think I don't need to worry about supermarkets running out of food, even if it came to that, I'll start plowing the ground. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, but you need a certain area of ground though.
Yes, of course.
Um,
Of course. Yeah,
but
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 I mean, yeah, yeah, go on.
but you see, the thing about it is that the with the current situation, this isn't what would normally cause a famine. See, famine is normally caused when the crops fail.
Yes,
So, as far as I know, I think the crops are still growing normally.
right.
So, so something, I suppose something a bit more catastrophic would have to happen.
So what you're saying is event. So to be clear, are you saying that if a famine and when a famine happens in Europe, that's a big sign of something? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, well, the last two is a famine. In the way I say it is a famine in the more posh countries.
Yeah.
So it's, how the northern hemisphere, because all the famines
Yes.
always happen in the southern hemisphere, isn't it?
Right.
So if we So if you have a famine in the northern hemisphere and then a few earthquakes, then that it's time to run, isn't it?
Yeah.
So because if this such a big pestilence has come and it's affected the whole world, isn't it? So it's big
Yeah.
enough. It's big enough as a pestilence to like count as biblical, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it's managed to spread the whole place.
Yes. Absolutely.
Mm.
Okay. Right. One more thing. Well, one more thing for my, as it were. I'm just thinking in terms of. So, what does this mean, for example? Or what are you getting, or what's your understanding of? As long as this, things continue this way, the effects it has on evangelism, good old fashioned evangelism. Because I know we can do all the internet stuff and whatnot, but what about how important is the fact that now evangelism, old style evangelism, has become non-existent? Literally, street evangelism. Street evangelism is street preaching. That's non-existent. And,
Yeah,
and
but
how effective is it in terms of, is it something that's going to be missing? Surely, all this internet stuff can't replace certain things.
no. For what's happening now, I feel that at some point, obviously, it's going to lift.
Right.
And things are going to go back to relative normality.
Right.
And it's as if we're around when that time comes,
Mm.
we now have to, understand that how much more serious evangelism is.
Absolutely. And the freedom to do it.
Yeah.
Because here we are in the West, we really take. You got to remember, what we're starting to experience now, and even beginning to imagine that we're going to start experiencing, is commonplace in all around the world. Where people can't go, Bibles are not even allowed. People are not allowed to preach in the street. This is something that's going to be new to the West. It's not new. Certain things that certain people are getting set to be new, a new way of life. I'm talking about in regards to the church and the Christian faith. It's not at all new around the world.
No.
Not being able to preach the gospel, not being able to go to gather in the church building, not being able to own a Bible. You mean so when these things start to happen, you need to be aware that this is something that's gonna be happening in this side of the world. It's not going to be new. You know what I mean? Even in China now, you know what I mean? It's a criminal offense, to have a Bible. So I'm saying, if these things are starting to come now, it'd be good to be aware that it's coming out. Things that's happening in other parts of the world is now coming to the West. That's all that would be happening. New Testament style is happening all over the world. New Testament style persecution is happening all over the world. It's just not happening in the so-called Americas and Britons and places like that.
Yeah, well, the western side, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is.
Northeast, northwest.
Yes, yeah. But in terms of I just hope that as I said, I will finish at saying I wish I could personally get more more be more convinced rather, or convicted that this is an act of God. That would sit more well with me. At the moment, I'm not. I think it's. But even if it's not, I'm just saying. Even if it's not, even if it wasn't, I would understand it to be. This is just. I would quite simply. I look at it like this. If when the final Antichrist system, whatever's going on now, when the final Antichrist system sets in, that will beat all the rest. That will beat the worst of the worst. So
Yeah,
if we're here. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, but so I'm still saying that what's happening now, as I still always look on it just as a warning. So it's actually down to us, to be like Mary and ponder on it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So
yes.
Yeah.
And grow and think, as you said. Yeah. And as well personally about your personal salvation and personal relationship with the Lord, and as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and like we're saying that when it does lift, because I'd say it has to some degree.
Yeah, it will to some degree, but that won't be the same. But yeah,
that we then take the evangelism more seriously, because now
absolutely, that's key. To realize that it's really a privilege. I'm already guessing because one or two people have said stuff to me. Yeah, it's funny. One or two people have said stuff to me about evangelism, and I know in an area where I know that evangelism has been very lax, and I already found that interesting. Because sometimes as human beings that happens. Once you realize you can't do something, you all of a sudden want to do the thing that you never did anyway.
That's right.
Yeah. So I've had a few already. I've had a few people mention some stuff, not so directly, but indirectly, and I thought, that's interesting. You were never engaged in that area anyway. That area of ministry, and now you're questioning whether its existence is gone. I find that very interesting. I'm just saying it to align with what you said. I hope so people that now might be expressing, what's happened to evangelism. People can't be in the streets anymore, and they never showed any interest in that area. They never did anything personally themselves. If things, it's at the first sign of things going back to normal or to any level of normalcy, they will still continue to not be interested if no lessons are learned. You know what I mean? If no lessons are learned and you weren't interested in evangelism, well, when things are lifted or lifted to some extent, you'll carry on not being interested unless you've learned a lesson from this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but I think that's the main thing though, is that finding those people who have learned the lesson. It's almost like that. That's now become like a sort of a bit of a little mission.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely. Yes.
there's going to be some of them out there, but
Yes. It's hard to find them. Maybe we could. It's hard to find. It's hard
yeah,
to find. Because I mean, you even touched on something the other day. You remember what we were talking about the other day when we were speaking? When we were talking about certain things where it's hard to sort of get things
oh
going in a
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
official, organized kind of way. We can
yeah,
sort of maybe sometimes do things at a ramble or this, or unexpected, but to
yeah,
organize sometimes is different. And I find the same with evangelism.
yeah,
Organize is different, and but I hope you know what it is. I'm thinking it's a church within the church is what needs to be found now. I don't know if you've heard that expression, kind of finding the church within the church.
oh yeah,
In the sense that there's lots of people are Christians, there's lots of people, but there's certain things in time, there's certain things that happen in certain periods of life where you've got to find the church within the church. Those that really want to think outside
oh
the Christian box, as it
no,
were.
no, actually, that's from Revelation.
Yes.
I think it's two. Is it? I can't remember where it is now. You know where he says a few who haven't soiled their garments.
Yeah, yes, that's right. When you talk about the Nicolaitans, is that right? Is that
I can't remember what it.
right? Okay. What's the expression? What did you say about the garments? I think
No,
it's
no. He says um there are a few who haven't soiled their garments.
yes, yeah. I think that's Revelation. If I'm not 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Wait, yeah. It's going to be
yeah. I
two.
know what you're referring to. Yes, yeah. The
Yeah.
church within the church. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like because it is. It's those that are. Yeah, I would put it this way in modern terms. I'd put it in modern terms and say those that dare to think outside the box,
Mm,
basically, and not just be, not just be Christian, as it were, but to think that bit deeper.
yeah.
Yeah, seriously, yeah, that's what I hope will come out of this. Hopefully, but as I said again, that's if you want going to be what they call if you want to say a remnant. It's going to be a
Mm,
remnant. It's not going to be the church and a whole. It's going to be, that's what I mean. It's going to be the inner circles. That's what I mean. There's a church and there's lots of people that's Christians, but there's going to be that inner circle that want to, get out of the comfort zone. Yeah.
all right. Yeah. It's Revelation 3 and 4.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to read actually when I'm finished. Yes. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Church within the church. Yeah. I mean, they haven't got that expression, but it
Yeah.
implies
Yeah.
that.
That's what you mean. Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it means. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where that expression came from. Yes, yeah. So what I'm saying is, I hope that But as I said, in saying that, you hope this. What I'm saying is, if all this blows away, you will still have to go looking for that. It's not going to just be there because as I said, because even now in people that even now while this is going on, in certain people where you may see some potential, as in they will say when we get out of this, certain things are gonna I'm gonna step
Yeah.
up and do something that I didn't do before. How many will
Yeah.
actually do it when it comes to it? That's what I'm saying. So it will still be a remnant that you'll have to look for. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
You still have to look for that remnant that's learned a lesson from this and
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
step out and do something. Yes, hopefully,
Yeah.
and I just hope I'll be a part of that. Yeah, but yeah.
All right. I don't know if you want to wrap it because it's like coming up to 11:30.
Yeah, that's right, but yeah, well, yeah, I'm more or less finished now. What do you want to? I don't know. Do you want to end out? How do you want to end out? You want to conclude in any particular way? Or?
No, I suppose uh, it's just mainly um, knowing that what's happening
Mm.
is that we really do. This shows that we do have to keep our eyes open more and don't just what you're saying about the 2 meter thing.
Yes.
I think that's like what that basically shows you is that it shows how easy it is for people to be like lemmings
Yes.
and not
Absolutely.
even
Very
question. Yeah. So that you could say in a way say that's one thing that's come out of this is that it really does show you, like you said, the control you can have.
yes.
over people, and the fact they will actually listen to what you say.
Yes, and the government has that level of control. And
Yeah.
one thing let me say before I forget, actually, I was saying, because I know a lot of people, I know lots of people personally, because I've been engaged in this era of life, that boldly and openly claim that they're free thinkers. And my question is, where are these people? Seriously, I'm not seeing no free thinking now.
No.
And I'm understanding why people are scared. Don't get me wrong when I say that, people are sheepish. I understand why they're scared. But what I'm saying is, I know a lot of people that openly like to declare that they're free thinkers. But where are they now? So it just makes you realize that, we're not as free as we like to think we are. Sometimes, even in Christian circles, people don't like it when somebody says we're all slaves because you kind of think, no, I'm free in Christ. But that's not what I'm talking about. You mean we are all slaves on this planet, and that's got nothing to do with not being free in Christ and Christ has freed you. I'm not talking about that because that's how people respond. No, I'm free in Christ. Jesus Christ has taken me. I'm not talking about that. You're a slave to your government. You're free in Christ. You're not free in your government. That's a whole different story. So I'm saying the two issues mustn't be mixed up for you to jump out and say, no, I'm not a slave because I'm free. Jesus set me free. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you're a slave to your government. And we're all slaves to our government. And I'm saying, and this is the evidence of it. Government owns you, own us, not free. Stop fooling yourself. That's what I want to say to people. They own you on every level. You have to prove that you exist on this planet. You need ID cards, you need NHS cards, you need medical cards, you need social security cards, you need bank cards, you need debit cards. Your ownership, your merchandise. You know what I mean? And that's what we need to realize. And what I'm saying is, this proves it. We're very sheepish, and we do look at our government as God. They told you to stay inside. We're all staying inside. Where are
Well,
all the leaders and the
not
patriarchs?
everyone. Not everyone.
Huh?
Remember, there's always a few rebels all the time, isn't there?
Yeah, there's always rebels, but right now I'm a rebel. But as far as can be seen, I'm because what I'm saying is because of how other people act, that affects me. Like
Oh yeah.
I've not been staying inside strictly. I've still been going out. I haven't stopped doing anything, but it's still affecting me in
Yeah.
regard, for example, the way the buses are running has affected how I want to operate. So
Yeah.
I've been out. That's what I'm saying. No, there are lots of rebels. But what I'm saying is, but you can't see them because how other people behave affects you, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So because everybody's been prepared to bow to the government, and I've not, it's still affected me because buses are non-existent. Everywhere's closed. So when I'm out on the street, I can't operate the way I usually do. I can say I'm still going out on the street. I'm not going to go home like they're saying. But while I'm out on the street, everywhere's closed.
Yeah.
And there's a good part of it, and there's a bad part of it. Like I enjoy the fact that I can walk on the street, and not see certain silly things that I would usually have to enjoy. There's that freedom and that peace in me walking on the street. But when I turn to a shop that I would want to go into, it's closed.
Yeah.
So there's a good bit and a bad bit all the way. I like the quietness and the calmness and the mellow. And you got these people that show us that get in your way every day. They're non-existent. I can walk through the street now peacefully. But what I can't do is go into a certain shop that I would go into. And and what I'm saying is, to wrap it up, what I'm saying is other people's behavior and other people's compliance affects you or not. And because everybody's essentially bowed to it, it affects me, even if I decide to be an individual rebel. That's what I'm saying.
But I don't know if you realize though that the way that those sort of lemming people affect what happens. I don't know if you remember that it's even worse actually when you're serving God directly as well.
Yes.
Because I don't know if you remember what happened, with Joshua and the guy that took the Babylonish garment. Because remember he took the garment.
Yes.
And then when they went out to battle, they lost like 30 something men.
Yes.
So essentially, those 30 odd men died because the guy took the garment.
Yes, absolutely. So as a result, yes.
Yeah.
So that says one person's action affects many.
Definitely.
One person's action can affect many. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying in here. So that's what I meant. As an individual, you can say I'm not, and I'm saying this to say because you said no, there's lots of rebels. They are. But what I'm saying is on the face of it, can we see them? Because right now everybody's inside. So of course there's lots of people saying what I'm saying. I'm not following that, and they may be going out, but I'm not seeing them. They're not seeing me. It's not something that people recognize. It's not like lots of people's going to end up on the street and saying, we're all doing the same thing. You can't meet 100 people or even 10 people that saying, I'm not following that. I don't believe it. I can't. I've met 2 people that's saying that. And what I'm saying is, and I know there is somebody saying it, but I'm not going to meet them because what everybody do in our hold is affecting them to the extent that it looks like they're not the rebel that they're being. And when I say rebel, I mean just not falling for it. That's what I mean. I don't mean any kind of Well, I mean, so the 1 or 2 people that are not falling for it, they're not visible. It's as though they don't exist because everybody's scattered. They're not meeting up in each other and all recognizing each other that, oh, there's a whole bunch of us here that's not falling for this. Everybody's in a separate space, not falling for it. And
Yeah.
they don't know each other. And I'm saying, and that's because on the whole, everybody's falling for this and everybody's staying at home. So even those the one or two that are not obeying looks as though they're obeying because their presence is non-existent.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, that's my conclusion. But but what we know for sure is what we know for sure is we don't know. That's what we know. We know that we don't know. What's going to happen with this. Yeah. It's in God's hands. Yeah. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, but I suppose that's like we were saying before about with the finding the nurses thing. So
yeah,
you have to see how you can get about seeing if you can see what's actually happening.
Yeah, and that I'm going to look into actually, because the more I'm thinking about it, the more it's coming up. As I said, I don't know where I'll get. I can only try, but I'll definitely try because the more I'm thinking about it, the more I want to do it. If you could get somebody in this space that says something different, gives us some and hopefully they will give us some honest, responses, and not just what the media is saying. If the media is 100% right, then say that, but prove it is what I'm going to ask. And hopefully not just somebody that just goes along with the media because they have to be hush, because I would have no problem, if I can feel convicted that somebody says, no, this is very real and the media is not hyping it up or differentiating between where the media's hyped up stuff and what's true, that's fine. I would be fine with that.
Well, anyway, the main thing about the nurses, it's not even really trying to compare what the media is saying. It's more just knowing what they're seeing happening.
Yeah.
And of course, like I was saying, you want to like find out from a porter as well, because they're the ones who actually bring bodies to the morgue, isn't it?
But my problem with that again, though, I have to say though, is if a nurse comes and tells me yes, people are dying, I will believe that. But that won't. I will believe that people are dropping dead. I already believe that, so that won't change anything. They'll already be telling me what I already believe. But what I won't believe, because I know people are dying, but what I won't believe is that it's corona, just like that. I won't believe a nurse coming and telling me, no, look, 1,000 people died in the hospital this week and they died of coronavirus. I will believe that 1,000 people died. I will question whether they died from coronavirus. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but like we were saying before, the main thing to remember is that the virus itself doesn't really do much. All it does is replicate itself.
Right.
So it doesn't because I think I said before that what actually kills you is your immune system.
Yeah.
So all the virus has to do is replicate enough to cause your immune system to over-respond.
Right. So then but that's my point. So then that's not strictly them dying of coronavirus. That's them dying from underlying causes and the coronavirus hurrying it up. It's still different.
Yeah, but it's down to
that's not the same.
Yeah, I know.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's not the same. That's like, for example, me being sick, and that's like me, for example, being sick and falling over. That's not going to help, is it? If I've already got a broken leg and I fall over again and then I die from it, or I break the next leg, the broken leg just led me to fall over and break the next leg.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm saying. So I already had an injury and it was compounded. And that's what I'm saying coronavirus is. You already got cancer, you already got asthma, you already got diabetes or high blood pressure, and it's compounded by the corona. So what ultimately killed you?
Oh, actually, the other one.
What initial disease?
Yeah, you heard about the smoking weed?
No, what about it?
Yeah, because when you smoke weed, it affects your lungs, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that it has more of a negative effect on weed smokers as well.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. So what all of this tells me is that this corona, whatever it is only compounding some existing disease.
Yeah.
So what's ultimately killed me is not corona; it's the existing disease that's been compounded by this corona. So I have to conclude from that what's killed me is not corona.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. It's not the corona. Because even in the media, they're saying it. They had underlying issues. Actually, they've been saying it more, funnily enough. Whereas before, they were just saying people are dying left, right, and centre. But I've noticed they've been saying a bit more. And I'm wondering what's going on there. Because they've been saying a bit more in the last 2 weeks that although that individual that they said died, or some individuals have had underlying diseases. And I'm thinking, if they're starting to say that now all of a sudden, that's probably been the case all along. It's probably the case all the way. Even when they just said people are dying.
No. It always has been, because when when I was reading on it about life science back at the beginning
Yeah.
of March, they were saying that from then,
Right.
because it was attacking older people.
Yeah.
And so so I think it's just the media, they weren't reading their information properly.
Yeah, they weren't. No, and let's be fair. Let's be a bit more blunt. They were being deliberately deceptive because that's sensationalism. That's sensational journalism that
Yeah.
sells newspapers and promotes their website and stuff like that. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. The larger part of the scare that's fallen on society is from the press and media, and not
Oh
from
yeah,
the
yeah,
so-called scientists and governments. I know that. I agree with
yeah.
that. They shouldn't be allowed, but they're being allowed to do this. Because it's business. But that's what I'm saying. But yeah, but my conclusion is this corona is not ultimately the killer. If it even exists, I will allow for its existence on some level, but it's not ultimately the killer. It's
Mm.
just like it's just like anything. That's what I'm saying. If I've got bronchitis and I keep going out in the cold, then it's getting compounded.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You mean so you can't say what I mean? One cold day didn't kill me, or one day of snow didn't kill me. It compounded my existing illness.
But
And
but
that's what killed me. So I was ultimately killed by my existing illness being compounded.
but you realize that you could say the same thing about the influenza as well.
What do you mean?
So it's not the influenza that kills you, because that's just a virus as well.
Yeah,
So it causes symptoms,
yeah,
but I don't think, well, no, I think the same thing again. It's just like with this. It's your immune system that kills you.
yeah.
I don't think the flu. I don't think the flu can. There's nothing the virus can do to really kill you.
No.
It's your immune system that does the killing.
Yes.